Good morning, and welcome to you all to, I guess, the first workshop of Code Talks this year. Obviously, this is a very bit of a special workshop. We've actually made this workshop for students, and we've done that for a reason, because we want to give you a bit of an introduction to what it's like to code like a game dev. And this is a hands-on workshop by us, people from InnoGames. So hopefully you would have all got the email. I think I personally sent it out, an email with some instructions on everything that you need to set up. And I hopefully you've all done that, but I will leave that to my esteemed colleagues here to actually go through in a bit. But I will give you a bit of an introduction of why we are here today. Let's start. Full disclosure, there's no AI in this in this workshop, unless Copilot invades like for Linda a little bit later. But no, seriously, full disclosure. We are sponsors here, and as with most sponsors, that means yes, we are trying to sell something, but we don't want to sell a product here today. We actually want to sell a career. And that's a career as a game developer and a chance to turn your passion for games into your profession. And what I'm exactly selling here is our InnoMaster program. And this is a joint study master and working program that we offer at InnoGames. So you'll hear that term quite a lot today, InnoMaster. So this is something we are trying to sell. And the best sales pitch that we can offer today is to experience what we do in our job. So to experience what we do as game developers. So a little bit about who we are, where we come from. So the company we work for was started as a hobby back in 2003. When our founders, Eike Henrik Klinsworth and Mikael Zimmer, started to develop a game. They just wanted to do it for fun. And they had no idea at the time what exactly they were getting into. And from that, InnoGames was created. And yeah, let me tell you a little bit what has evolved from InnoGames now. We at InnoGames now, it was founded in 2007 officially as a company. Now we employ over 350 people from 40 plus nations, me being one of these nations from a long distance away. We have 10 live games and millions of players. Well, I would say hundreds of millions of players, and over the time, probably billions of players, lots and lots. And more specifically, we are based out of Hamburg. You might have seen our office. It's got a big, gigantic, nice statue out the front in Hammerbrook. And yeah, so we're here in Hamburg, and we want to promote here in Hamburg. More specifically, who are we here today? It's not just me. I'm just here as a lead, but what I've done is actually to make this this workshop a little bit more to your heart. I've actually brought current and previous InnoMasters with me, and I will introduce them, but they will be the people that will actually go through and run this workshop. So let me start. First, we have Melissa.
Thank you, Brett. Hello, everyone. Yeah, my name is Melissa, and I'm currently studying in my InnoMaster with InnoGames, and I started in September in this year. And previously, I worked 1 year as a working student for InnoGames in the back-end development, and yeah, I started in a dynamic department, so we provide all the services for the talented game development teams, and I'm pursuing the software engineering career. And thank you, Brett.
Hey, so I'm Henrik. I've been working for InnoGames now since 2021. I've also started as an InnoMaster. Right now I'm full-time employed at the Dev CM team, so I'm maintaining and developing what we do to get in contact with our players, be it newsletter, be it surveys, but also to give them nice offers. Like if you've played any of those games, you might get an offer after you've lost a fight, and it was like, yeah, oh, you lost a fight, yeah, get this nice package for 99 cents and you will refresh your units, basically like this. And also besides that, I'm also more into game jams and game dev as a hobbyist, so the passion for game dev is still there, even if I'm more working in the backend operations.
Hi everyone, I'm Linda. I started in 2019 as an InnoMaster in the same team that also Henrik and Melissa are currently working on. Since then I transitioned to the more game side of things, so I've been working on Elvenar in the front end, and right now I'm working on Heroes of History. So yeah, I'm right now a full-time Unity dev and hope that I can bring this cool job and hobby to you today.
Yeah, these are the InnoMasters that I brought along today. Myself, I am not an InnoMaster, and I'm way too old to be an InnoMaster, but I am the technical lead of the first position where our InnoMasters start. So all of the 3 InnoMasters here, I've been very much a part of their interviewing process, and also their lead, all 3 of them, in their first year of InnoGames. And it's I have the pleasure of actually introducing them to you. So first, let's have a little bit of a summary of what we're doing today. Our first point here is we're going to go give you some inspiration. We're going to discover how a career in game development starts here at InnoGames, and a bit of experience from our career our InnoMasters here, of how it looks to work in a gaming company. Second, we get into the fun part. This is why you're all here. It's a hands-on coding experience. We want to give you a bit of a feel of what it's like to actually develop a game. So we use Unity, and this is something that we want to give you a step-by-step introduction of what developing gaming looks like. And at the end, it's going to be the most boring part, but it's probably going to be the most valuable part. If you want to get into a career in game development, we have tips and some real advice of what we expect when you actually come and apply in a gaming organization. And this is where I will spend some time. As I've said, I've been a part of the interview process for a lot of InnoMasters here. So let me hand over. I'm finished with the introduction, but I'll hand over to Melissa, who will give a bit of an introduction of what life looks like as a game dev or as a developer at InnoGames.
Thank you, Brett. I will take also the pointer. So, okay. My name is Melissa again, and I'm very happy that you're all here today. Now that you have known us a little bit better, I want to give you some more information about the InnoMaster program. So basically, the program offers the opportunity to gain important and deep practical experience during your master degree, and the combination allows you to gain know-how in the practical work environment at InnoGames, and also during your studies at university. And on this slide, I want to show you the 2 directions you can take part with your studies, and they are tailored for aspiring engineer professionals or business specialists. I think today at code.talks, the more we speak about the engineering part, so the development part, and we have some partner universities. May you will know some of them. It's the University of Applied Sciences Wedel, or the International School of Management, and also the Fresenius University of Applied Sciences. And normally the student is looking for a degree which would be the chosen one, and after this it will get discussed with the contact person at InnoGames, and then the InnoMaster could start. And how does the timeline as an InnoMaster look like? First of all, most of them or all start in the back-end development, so you see all the services that provide that we are providing for the game development teams to support them. You get a very wide range of foundational knowledge about the company, and after this the second year starts and you get to work at a established game. I think many of you have maybe heard of Forge of Empires. It's a well-known game of us, and then you work in an established game which is running and got played for many years. After the second year, you will then start and transition to a newer game, so a newer team also, and also new challenges and opportunities you can take part and make the game a great success, hopefully. But and gain a lot of new experience also in a very agile working team. And after during the 3 years, you will work with different technologies. I will just mention a few. I think the most of you have heard about some of them. And on this slide, we will dive into the technologies we use day to day. And the foundation is Confluence. We use it as an internal wiki at InnoGames. Also, we use Jira to collaborate and track our tasks for the projects. I think also you could have heard about this tool. But additionally, and most important, each department employs different and various technologies that they need for development. Especially for today's session, we also use Unity and develop the game features in Unity in C#. And you can choose your development environment and IDE as you would like to. We use Rider or Visual Studio Code for the development in Unity. And we also use in the back end many different programming languages. You may heard, or you all have heard about Java, and we use it for scalable business applications that have to be reliable. And I just mentioned a quick some of our used technologies. We also use React at some point for our games to build up nice user interfaces, and we manage our source code in GitLab or Bitbucket. And also, like from my side, I'm mostly working in the back end and provide some services from data integration to data optimization, and we use Hadoop for our big data environment and storage. And also to orchestrate all the tasks that we have, we use Apache Airflow. Just to give you a rough overview, but there are many more technologies that you will get to know when you join a team, and every team uses another stack of technologies, and so there's a big opportunity to learn very much in different teams at InnoGames. So on this slide, I will just quickly focus on the key aspects that define the role of a junior dev and how it contributes to your personal and professional growth. And as a junior dev, you are entrusted with real projects and tasks that have a real impact on the games and the company and our players. So you will play a crucial role in the success of the games. And also we are all working in agile teams, and you will experience dynamic processes like retrospective meetings or daily stand-ups to foster a collaborative environment and working experience. And also it's very important that every voice is valued at InnoGames. And next step for your professional development, and it's a big cornerstone of our culture, is continuous learning and further training. So you get many offers to expand your knowledge and your know-how, and and also code reviews and pair programming sessions come with it. So your team will support you in your career path and give you feedback on your code, and you can learn from experienced peers in your team. And during your time as an InnoMaster, you will get to know many different teams within the company. So as you can see here, we have a well-known game, or we have many different teams I already spoke about, but Forge of Empires is a well-known game of our company. Also, we have some newer games like Heroes of History, where we work on and have very professional teams working on. And also our oldest and our first game is Die Stämme, or Tribal Wars. But to support these games, we have many more departments and teams. So we also do professional analytics on our data that we are getting from our games to build up the best player experience we can offer to our player. Also, as Hendrik mentioned, we have customer relationship management tools and measures, so we can send you nice offers, or we can send a nice newsletter to you to let you know that there is something going on, maybe a new season in your favorite game, and you can jump in and play it. Also, as my department or my team is working on, is the backend and the storage of all the data. So also the games work properly, and your cities are there when you log in and don't get lost somewhere in the universe. So also we have some more services we provide to run the games properly, like marketing services or also payment services, because when you provide games and we provide browser and mobile games, then you have to have all these services to support the good or the best player experience. Okay, so now we reached the point that I have spoken enough about our InnoMaster program. I hope you could get some informations about it, and if you have some questions, you can just reach it. We want to have it very interactive, so you can just pick up your hand if you have some questions right now, or you can ask Hendrik later in the hands-on session. So are there any questions right now to this point? Then you can just show us. If not, so then we will jump into the hands-on session in Unity. So start your engines and your laptops. Okay, thank you.
Great. Great. So you can take out your laptops right now, because now we're gonna get our hands a bit dirty. Is there anyone who does not have a laptop here? So just for our awareness. Okay, nice. So one of the first thing I wanna check in with you is, does everybody of you have installed the Unity Hub already, or is there anyone who doesn't have it installed? One, okay. You can take your time. We will have some spare time where you can download it, which leads me to the follow-up question. Is there anyone who has not installed Rider or Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio or any IDE you want to work with yet?
Oh, okay.
It's loading right now, okay. I don't think we need Android for today,
No,
but we will have some time. No worries.
VS Code might be the faster option
Yeah.
if you want to download it quickly. Rider might be a little bit overkill for this Wi-Fi here.
Then the last important step: does anyone not have checked out the repository yet, which we will need, which you will work on with us right now? Okay, so everybody seems to be ready. There are a few downloads going on. Don't worry.
Some checkouts are missing.
Don't worry, you will get along. I will give
Did
you.
you receive the link, everyone, that we send out prior to the workshop?
Yeah, don't worry. We will have some live
Okay.
coding here going on. After this, we will do a bit more hands-on freestyle thing where everyone can work on their stuff. And so don't worry, you can sit here, you can follow along with us.
Yeah.
We hope also we will get just something
Yeah.
from seeing us coding live on the big screen here.
Please just wave to me if there's any issue with your setup, then I will rush over.
All right. Cool. Then I will slowly start. If you are still downloading stuff, don't worry. We will make sure that you can catch up. We will also push our code regularly, so you can also pull it if in case you are stuck behind somewhere, or if something is really miserably broken, which we don't hope in this point. Okay. So to open up the project, you will need to open up the Unity Hub. And in the Unity Hub, you will need to add the new project. And I will do it just from the beginning so everyone can get along with me. And for this, you can just press the add button here. And there you can say, hey, I want to add the project from disk. And then you basically just try to find wherever you have stored it. And I think I have stored it in, no, that's da. For me, it's the code.talks workshop 2025, which is basically how we call the repository. And if you now click open, it will be added to the Unity Hub. And now you need to press it once more. And I still already have it open. Okay, then I will just close it for the sake of demonstration. And if you select the project, yeah, recover and backup scenes, that's totally fine. It's just something locally broken here. If you now see this Unity engine thing, or okay, that's this is unexpected, but this is fine. I will just open it up again.
Ignore
Just
maybe
ignore. And I fixed the code after that. Ah, yeah, I remember I did some ad hoc coding before. Great. Now, if you have opened up Unity on your machines, you will be greeted with this rather default layout. And I now just want to explain a few things here for you, just to get you familiar with how Unity looks like, how it's working. And after that, you will be getting some time to look around for yourself, so you can just get a little bit in touch with it. So what you basically see is a very basic Lego scene setup. You have some assets here already available. You will find the assets down left in the project view. And there we have different folders. We have the input folder, which we won't bother for right now. We have the Lego art. There are some assets in there. There are music tracks. We have some prefabs, whatever this means. We will get to this later. We do have the scene, which is right now the Lego setup scene. We do have the scripts folder where we will put our scripts in, and there's already one script existing, and some other folders which we don't need right now. Now the more interesting part is, of course, what is happening in the scene. And to the left, you will find the hierarchy. And the hierarchy is basically saying what is existing in the scene. And each object you see here is what we call a game object. For example, the firefighter here. And you can now see I have selected him. He got a little outline in the scene view. And one very basic thing, or one fundamental of game objects in Unity is they each have a transform. And a transform is basically determining where an object in the world is living or in the scene is living. So if I now would select this firefighter, which is selected, I can now press W, and I can now move the firefighter along if I actually hit the arrow. So I can move him along the x-axis, and you will see on the right the position is getting adjusted. I can move him along to the y-axis, and you can see the y value is getting manipulated. I could also make him comically large. If I press R, I can scale him, and I can just make him a wide firefighter, and I can also make a little bit slimmer, wider, taller firefighter. But for now, I just want to keep it at the scale of 1 and 1. With E, you could basically rotate the firefighter if you want to. You can just spin him a bit, but for now, we don't need this right now. And now let me put him up again. Okay, to the right here in the inspector, you will also see that the player, this firefighter is already composed of some more scripts. There's, for example, the animator, which we will also get later to. There's the player input, which we also get later to. And you will find the script, which is currently having some compile issues here on me locally, but I will fix it soonish. And yeah. So also for the other elements in the world, you can expand the level. You will see this is just a parent game object of many other game objects. And you will find there are some brick parts, there are some walls, there are some ground. And yeah, with this, you can also already just start if you don't have any compiler errors, just like me. But I will fix them right now, really quickly. Oop. And there we have it. And now if Unity just will compile, and he's still messing around with me. Okay, Unity, if you will code with Unity for a longer time, you notice Unity will have this awfully long reloading and compiling times. It's horrible at some point, and even in larger projects it will take longer. So you will have to work with this, but it's fine at some point. So with no compile errors, I can also just start a scene, and you will see my firefighter is falling to the ground. I can press WASD, nothing happens. I can space, nothing will happen. But for now, this is our first rough overview, and I just want to give you like 5 to 10 minutes to look around at Unity for yourself. Just click around a bit, have a look at the assets, maybe move stuff around, and after you're a bit familiar with Unity and you know how to operate with Unity just a bit, then we will continue with the actual live coding. So let's have our first check-in after 5 minutes, and then we'll see how far everyone got so far.
So did anyone not reach that point of opening the editor? Is it still loading? Damn it. Any technical problems apart from downloading? Damn
Also,
it.
if you have any question just during the time, just raise your hand. We have enough people here who will help you out on the fly. There are still some downloads going on, which is totally fine. We will get to a part, or right now where I'm just coding. You can follow along if you can. If you cannot, don't worry. You can keep on your downloads. You can try to get along with us or line with us then later. We will get to a freestyle part where you can also then have some little tasks which we can work together on. Great. Cool. So now that we are a bit familiar with Unity, let's give our game a little life there, right? Because currently it's a bit boring. We can't do any much. Our firefighter will just fall down straight to the ground without any movement involved. He can't jump, he can't do nothing. So it's lifeless currently. No much so in this game. And we want to start with now, we do like 3 little tasks right now. I will just show them to you, code it for you. You can follow along. And for now, the first task will be, let's make our player move. And to make our player move, we need to define some input actions before. And if you take a look in the input folder, you might see that there is already some asset which is called the player controls. And the player controls is basically is coming with Unity, so think of Unity just more as something which renders a game to you, but more of a big toolbox. And this big toolbox comes with a lot of tools. And those this input system itself is, for example, such a tool. It will allow you to set up different input actions. Sorry. And one action here, for example, is the move action. And the move action here is basically just an action which has a binding, which is of a 2D vector. And this means if you have paid attention to analysis, you will know that a vector 2 is defined of 2 values. One is the x value, one is the y value. And now WASD will refer to those values which we will read from the input action. So W means we want to go up, so we will go 0, 1. And 1 is then on the y-axis, we want to go up. Down would be S, then would be 0, minus 1. And if you want to go to left, it would be A, 1, 0, minus 1, 0, and D would be right, 1, 0. And this is actually what we want to pass, and this is what we actually want to read. And now we want to use this, so we need to open a script to actually read from this. And for this, you can go to the firefighter, and in the inspector on the right, you will see now with no compile errors now on my side that there is the player controller script. You can click it, then it will open up in the project view, or you can double click it, and then actually your IDE will open up. And I will just, for the sake of demonstration again, show what happens when you double click it. So now with the player controller script open, or your IDE open, you will see the script, and you already see some things in the script. And there's, for example, some input action reference. It's move. There's also jump. Yeah, spoiler, we will also do some jumping. There are some other more Unity-related stuff already involved. For example, the animator, which will help us animate our figure. There is a rigid body, which enables our figure to be part of the physics world. There is some move speed, there's some jump force, there's some more physics stuff for the ground layer and the wall layer, there's some ground check radius, and there's a wall check distance. But for now, we wanna focus on the move. So let's start now in the update method. And update is one of the lifecycle methods in Unity. So update means every frame Unity is rendering, this method is being called. So you wanna check in every frame on your input if the input has changed. And how many frames being rendered depends on your hardware. So in faster machines, it's way more frames per second. On not so fast machines, a bit less. And for now, let's start with a method which actually handles the movement. And I will just call it handle movement. And I wanna call this method now in every frame of the game. So I will just call in the update method this handle movement. And what do you want to do in the handle movement function? Then we want to read from the move action. And for this, we can actually do the following in our move action, which we have defined earlier. There's an action property. There's a lot of other properties which are differing to the input system. But for now, we will just need the action. And from this action, there you will find a lot of other methods and properties. But we care about reading from our action. So we want to read a value from it. And now this is a generic function, meaning we can pass any type which we pass from it. And if you remember, our move action is of type vector2. So we want to pass vector2. And now just reading the value of it will not help us a lot. So we're just going to say, hey, we want to assign this value which we read here to our move direction. And move direction is already a private field declared here. And now we read the value from the move direction. And we can actually see what will happen if we will log this to the console. So debug.log will enable you to just write it to the console. And now I just want to show you what will happen if I restart a game. Just so you can see also the concept. Is anyone along with this right now? Is anyone stuck somewhere? For the download, okay. Besides downloads. And if you now click on the console next to the project tab, you will find there's already writing something. And if you now press A, you will see it's going to -1, 0. If you let go of it, it will go back to 0, 0. If you press D, it will go to 1, 0. If you press W, it will go to 0, 1. And if you press S, it will go to 0, -1. So basically exactly what we expected from our 2D vector, which we got here. Now this doesn't help much, because you're just reading it and we are not passing it somewhere. For this, we have the rigid body, and as I already mentioned, this makes our component or game object part of the physics world. So here, we will access our rigid body, which we have already set before in bit upper here. And we want to assign some velocity to it, so the player will start moving. And in the rigid body, we'll find a lot of properties, for example, the mass, the position, rotation, everything which will help you to deal with the physics world. But to make a move, we need to adjust the velocity, and the linear velocity is one of the methods which we can make a move. And to the linear velocity, we want to assign some value to it. And for this, we want to assign a vector2, because we want to move in the x and y dimension, because in a 2D scene. And for this, we can say we want to take from the move direction, what we just read before. We want to take the x value of the move direction, because we care about the movement to the left or to the right. For the y movement, now you're thinking, okay, what can I pass there? And we don't want to change the original movement in the y-axis for the rigid body. So we will access again the rigid body, the linear velocity, and from this the y value. And now with this, if I will just start again the game, hopefully he will start moving. Hopefully I haven't done something here wrong. And you see he's slowly moving. He's very, very slow in his movement right now. He's like a little slug there. It's really, really slow. So we need to make him faster. How do we make him faster? We do have the move speed already defined at some point here, and we want to magnify our x movement in this case. So we need to multiply the move direction in the x direction with the move speed. So what you can think of now, you have a value of -1 or 1, and you will multiply it with now 5. So we will have then a velocity of 5 or -5 in the respective direction. And if I now will start the game again, he's a bit faster. Great. And now, if you remember the inspector, if you have taken a closer look, you have seen that there are already these fields also exposed in inspector, so we can assign those values also during the runtime of the game. And for this, I could be, for example, let's double the speed. Let's make it 10. He's faster. Great. We can do double it another time. And now he's at 20. And he's going a bit faster. He's probably having a core right now. Something's burning. And if you go 100, he's like super speed, and he will just glitch at some point because the physics system can't keep up with his speed. And now he will just fall into oblivion. Okay. Great. So let's wrap this up. This is now, we made our player move. We read from the input action, from the move action. We read a vector2 value there, and we pass it to the rigid body, to the linear velocity, to make him actually move. And we take the x movement and magnify it with the move speed, so we have some factor in there so he can go faster. Great. So I now want to give you 5 minutes of time again to just see along, maybe catch up with the code. I, for myself, will also now commit the code, so you will then also be able to pull in a case where you would need it. Also, this is a regular part of the daily lifestyle or the daily business. If you have code changes, you have to commit it at some point, and this will be the first commit. I will call it make player move. Whoosh. Great. So 5 minutes. And then in 5 minutes we will go to the second task, which will be in the jumping. So you can also catch along. And for this we will just force push it soonish.
Working. Good. Anyone with problems? We are here to help out. I'm running. Thank you.
Oh. Cool. So, now most of you got with our point here. I saw some compiling issues as well, some other smaller issues which we could already fix. But now we can just move our player, and we do have some other thing which we want to implement, and we want to make our player actually jump. Because what is a good platformer? Well, what makes a good platformer? It's a good jumping mechanics. If you get this nice feel of the player can jump nice, it's a nice addition there. So to do this, to make our player jump, we will need again our jump action, or one of our input actions, which is the jump action there. And again, you can go to the player controller, and I will just hide the git thing here. And you already see that we already have the jump action reference available here in our script. And this is what we now want to utilize. And in a very similar manner to how we have done the handle movement method, we can now create another method which will take over the jumping mechanic. And for this, you can create a method. I will call it jump, handle jump. Yeah, the U key is somewhere different. You can call it whatever you like, but you will need a handle jump method, or you can also put in an update method. It doesn't matter. And now, I've already spoiled it a bit. We want to jump as soon as we got the jump action triggered. And again, when you see it, the move action, we will do something very similar to it. So we want to check. We want to do an if statement here. We want to know if our player has triggered the jump action. And then in this if clause, we will put a condition for the jump action. And there you will find some properties like red value as for the move. And you will find some property also called triggered. And now you will ask, why is there triggered? Where does it come from? If you go back into your project, and if you open up the player input actions, and if you take a look at the jump, you will see the action type for jump is in button, and the button has basically two states. It's triggered or it's not triggered. And this is what we want to utilize at this point to enable the jumping mechanics. And for here, when we have the jump action triggered, we want to jump. And how do we do this? So we need to interact with the physics systems once more. And for this, again, we will access our rigid body. And the rigid body is a much more complex component as just like, yeah, we have linear velocity. We do have also some methods which is called, for example, add force. And with add force, we can tell the rigid body to add some force, as the name suggests. And you will find a few parameters available there. One is, for example, the force which we want to apply. And the force is basically saying in what direction we want to apply it. And if you think of jumping, if you jump, you go up. And there is already a fine constant defined in the vector 2 of Unity, which is called up. So if you type vector2.up, you will find, if you even hover it, I think it will display it in the docs, or yeah, my cursor is comically large, so I don't know where it is. You can imagine of vector up is like 0, 1. So it's pointing upwards. And now again, just jumping with a force of 0, 1 is not very high. We won't get much high with this. So again, we want to magnify our vector here with some force, with any force which we have. And we do have something available, which is called the jump force. And we use this, multiply it with the vector 2 up, and there's a second parameter which we need to add, because right now, if we just use the default add force method, we will just take a little push to our player. So you maybe go like, whoop, but nothing more will happen. And we want to go in a bit up farther. So there are different force modes for exactly this. Force mode 2D is basically just what I said, it's a little push. And if you use the force mode 2D impulse, then it's more of an explosive addition of a force. So it will go more like higher, way, way higher than just like a little push. And now we need to also call our method in our update method here. And we just call handle jump as well. And now let's just have a quick look at it. Handle jump will also get triggered every frame since it's in the update method. And in the update method, in the handle jump method, we will check if the jump action has been triggered. And if so, we will add some force into the direction of the y-axis. So let's have a quick look. Is everybody at this point so far? Could they implement it already? Or is there someone really weird, really right behind? Good. Now let me demonstrate it. I go around, and now I press space, and he goes jumping, which is nice. And I can jump, and what I even can do as well, I can just skyrocket him into the sky, and he will just fly somewhere. And if you now try to find your player, he's not even there, you can take a look at the scene, and you will just see he's going upwards a lot. And at some points, when he reaches peak, you will see he will lose his momentum, and now down he goes again. And we can watch him falling, and this is due to the default gravity which is being applied here. Okay, so we do want to prevent this. He goes through the floor because the physics system can't keep up. We want to prevent this behavior. We do not want our player to be able to skyrocket. We want our player only to jump when he's grounded, because also in the real life you can only jump when you're grounded. You can't just jump out of the mid-air and it just like whoop, adds some momentum. This is not working. So for this we want to check if our player is actually grounded. And if you had a closer look maybe at some of the game objects, you might have found that the bottom part has a layer which is called, or assigned a layer of a ground. So with the layers, we can assign different meanings to game objects, and layers are basically working like for collisions. You can collision check on them, you can ignore collisions on different layers. It's a really nice handy tool for game development to just see what do we want to actually collide with. If you take a look at other objects, for example at the wall here, it will have a layer of default. But we are only interested when our player is grounded on the ground and not overlapping with the wall, because otherwise we could just be here and jump again. So if you take a look at a firefighter and you take a look in the inspector at the player controller script, you will find that we already have something assigned here, which is the ground layer, and we do not want to touch this for now. But we will use it for our advance. And in the hand and jump method, we will now add something, and we will call declare some variable. Let's call it ground. If you are not familiar with the var keyword here, var is basically meaning it's a implicit type assignment of C#. So you don't declare explicitly your type. It's more inferring it from what we ever give it or assign to it. And we want to find a ground. So we will assign something from it, and Unity, as already mentioned, is a toolbox, and Unity has also a physics 2D tool here available. And if you use this, you will find some properties. Again, gravity, for example, is the global gravity which is being applied to the scene. You will find some other physics-related stuff which are not related or are not needed for right now. And we want to check if something is overlapping. And you will find a lot of overlap methods. There's overlap area, overlap box, overlap capsule. So a lot of different shapes which we can check an overlap for. What we want to do, we want to use the overlap circle. And the overlap circle, you will see there are a lot of different signatures. There's, for example, one which takes a point, a radius, and a layer mask. And this layer mask is basically what we're going to check on if he's hovering or is being grounded or is overlapping the ground. So let's use overlap circle. As the center of this circle, which will check the overlap, you will use the player's transform position. And as I mentioned earlier, transform is defining where a player actually is in the world and how he's scaled or how he's rotated. And position is basically that point where the player currently is. Now we need to give in some radius, and we already have something in there, which is called the ground check radius. So this we define with which radius our circle for the overlap check will have. And now we need to pass the layer which we want to check on. And as already said, there's the ground layer, which we already have defined. And I will just also add some line breaks here for you for easier read. And now we do have something hopefully in our ground when we are grounded. And now we need to extend our condition here. And in our condition is if the player is grounded or if our ground has been found, and the jump action has been triggered, we want to jump. So let's check if the ground is not null and if the player has triggered the jump action. And you need here's a fundamental concept. If the player is not grounded, so if he's somewhere in the air, ground will be null. And null means there's nothing assigned, there's nothing in the circle. If there is some ground, there will be some value assigned and it will not be null. So we can jump when we're on the ground. So let's have a quick look how this now will look. And if it's working as expected, our expectation here is as soon as we are grounded, or as long as we're grounded, we are able to jump. If we are mid-air, we cannot jump anymore. I will now press space, he will jump. I will press it more and now I spam it. He will only jump when he's grounded. Great, so no more skyrocketing to the sky, which is great. Now to wrap it up, the jump method once more. So we will check for a ground if the player is grounded on any of the game objects which have the layer ground. So you have seen this little brick parts on the bottom. The wall will not be checked. As you've seen, we were in the mid-air and the other objects have not been found here in this case. And we want to jump if the jump action, in our case the spacebar, has been triggered. And then we want to add some force to make him actually go upwards, which is then into the y direction, magnified by our jump force. And we want to do it as an impulse mode and not as a force, because if you just force, it's just a little push upwards, but we want to do a more explosive jump. We want to have some heavy force on it. Great. Now again, you will have 5 minutes to catch up a bit, and after this, after we are done with this part, then we will get, or after this little pause, we get to the animation part of it, because currently the player is looking a bit stiff. Nothing is really quite visually stimulating there. Cool. So let's get to our last third little part here. At least from my side. After this, Lina will take over and you will be able to be a bit more freestyling. We present some tasks. So what I've not done, which is really bad of me, I've not committed my changes. So add jump mechanics. So you will be able to pull these changes if you are not up to date. Great. So now, as already mentioned, the player looks a bit stiff. It's like, yeah, we are going to the left, we're going to the right, but it's not looking very exciting. He's like moonwalking to the left. I don't know, I don't get an appeal from it. And we can change this. For this, a bit of theory, a bit of basics here in Unity. If you select the firefighter in a hierarchy again, and you will open up the inspector. Ooh. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah, thanks. I think my writer just died then. Okay, it recognized it. Yeah, great. Now my writer died probably. Yeah, it died. I don't know why, but Mac has some bug that whenever you connect your MacBook to another resolution, it will just kill every JetBrains ID, and I don't know why. It's annoying. But this should not bother us here. Back to the theory. In the inspector for the firefighter, if you have selected the firefighter in your hierarchy, there's the animator. And again, if you click once on it, you will find it will be selected in the project files. But if you take a double click on it, you will see this little animator. And an animator is basically like a state machine. So you can imagine you can define many different states, like idle, walking, slashing, jumping, whatever comes into your mind, and define a state for those. And each of those states you will find to the right, there's a motion behind it. And I won't go too deep into how to animate here right now, because we do have some animations available already, and we use those. The first thing I already see is Lego Basic Walk. This is not the Lego Basic Walk animation, but this is the Lego Idle animation. So I will just rename it right now. And you see there's also a Lego Walk state. And between those two states, between Lego Idle and Lego Walk, there are transitions. Those are these arrows, and those arrows point from what state into which state you can transition into. And each transition needs a condition. And in our conditions here from transitioning from the idle state into the walking state, we have the condition of walk needs to be greater than 0.1. And now you're probably wondering, where is this walk parameter coming from? And if you take a closer look in the animator, you will find parameters. There's a little tab on the top left here, layers and parameters. And if you click on parameters, you will find the walk parameter. And this is currently set to 0. And now if you take a look at the other condition, going back from the walk to the idle animation, you will find that the condition for this to transition, to perform this transition, is walk needs to be less than 0.1. And now you can think of, okay, we do now when we are walking, so we need to probably assign this value of this parameter during the runtime and set in walk to either 1 or 0 or any value which will fulfill this condition. And for this, we can do this actually in our player controller script, because if you remember, our firefighter does have a reference to the animator, and we already defined it. So let's go back into the player controller. You will see here's the animator already defined. I will close this. And now we want to do something very similar again as with the jump and the movement. Let's create a method, handle animation. You can call it whatever. You can also call it animate or make player move or whatever comes in your mind. Again, this method also needs to be called every frame, even if it's right now empty. But we know we want to call it every frame. And now in this animation method, we want to access the animator and set a value for the parameter of walk. So let's access actually our animator. And there you will find there are again some default properties from Unity like transform. There's something also like speed, how fast the animations are actually playing. Also some not relevant for us in this case. And if you now type set, if you just want to explore a bit, you will find a lot of set methods. There's like set bool, there's set float, set integer, set target, set trigger, whatever. But if you remember, walk has been a floating point number. So we actually want to set a float parameter in this case. And if you take a look at the signatures, you will see there is some a variable which is called string name and float value, and we want to use this. So let's say set float. The first parameter will be the name of the parameter which we want to set. And let's call it walk, because the parameter is called walk. Now we want to set a value for this parameter. And here we want to set this value to 1 when we are moving, and we want to set it to 0 when we are not moving. So how do we know that we are moving or not? We do have the move direction from earlier, from the movement task. There we can actually access the move direction, which we already have assigned, where we know, okay, we are moving or we are not moving. And there is the x value. And this will define whether we are moving or not. So there's now one little pitfall. We can't just assign the x value of it, because if we go left, it's -1. And we can't transition to the walk state as we can't transition to it if it's less than 0.1. It needs to be greater than 0.1. So we do here something which we call a ternary operation, or a ternary check. And we want to see if it's not equal to 0, so we know we are moving. If this is true, then we want to assign a 1. Otherwise, we want to assign a value of 0. So what this here is doing, basically saying we check a value for a variable, and if it's not 0, we want to assign 1, because then we are moving, then we need to set this value, and if we are not moving, we want to stand still. Oh, it's gone again. I will just replug it, and my writer will die again. Okay, it recognized it. Also soll ich mal nur HDMI versuchen? Das passt, okay. So. Ah, great. Nice. Yeah, we want to ignore that this has crashed again. But what hackathon would it be if there would be no tech issues, right? So yeah, cool. It it actually killed the code which I've just written, but I will go over it again. So we want to access the animator, and in the animator we do have the set float method, and we want to set the parameter of walk, and we want to set it to a value. And as I said, we want to check on the move direction, and we want to check on the x value of it. And we want to check if it's not 0. As long as it's not 0, we are moving. So if this is true, if you're not moving, we can assign 1. If we are moving, we want to assign 1. If you're not moving, we can assign 0, because if we are not moving, it's true, we need to assign 1. If you're not moving, we assign 0. Great. Let's have a quick look if this is actually not working, if our players will start with the animation. We go back into Unity, start a scene, we'll walk, and there he is. He's walking. And if you now go left, he will do a more fancy moonwalk. And now it doesn't feel right that he's going left, but he's not facing the left, right? So we need to do something about it. And I will show you now a little trick about this. Of course, we could create another asset which is facing him right or facing to the left, but this would be a bit too complicated. So we can actually use the transform again. And in the transform, you will already see there are scales. And if you think about scaling, if you scale it further upwards, further to the right, so to say, the player will get bigger. But what happens if you will put him into a negative scale? Let's just put a negative sign of it, and he's facing left. That's just a little magic how we will ensure now that he will be facing left. And for this, we will do something very similar as we've done for the animation. So in the animation method again, we want to access the transform. And in the transform, there will be the local scale property. And this is what we can assign. And for here, we want to assign a new vector 3. And it needs to be a vector 3 because even when we're in a 2D space, if you just use a vector 2, z gets assigned to a 0. And then the player will just go, poof, he will go invisible. He won't be seen anymore. And now, again, we will do something very similar as we have done here. We want to check if this move direction, if the x value is not equal to, if it's greater than 0, greater than 0, then we're going to the right. So we can assign 1f as saying, okay, we are going to right, we want to keep the original scale. If we are going to the left, we want to assign minus 1f. Because we're going to the left, so we need to flip our player somehow. And this is done with assigning a minus 1 to it. For the other dimensions, we just want to keep it as is. If the tooltip would not block it, that would be great. And this is what now it would look like for now. And now let's see what will happen with this little piece of code and see how our player will behave. Because there's something which will not behave as we think it will be. So I'm going right, he's facing right. I'm going left, he's going left. And now I will let go of A. And he will go straight back facing right. And this is what we want to prevent, as we want to keep the facing position. So again, we can stop the scene. And then we go back into our handle animation method. And here, we only want to assign this value to local scale if the x value of the move direction is not equal to 0. Because as long as it's not 0, the player will move, and then we know we need to assign something to it. So if the player is moving, we want to assign a local scale. If he's going right, we will keep the original scale. If he's going left, we will assign a negative 1 scale and flip him with this technically. So let's go back into Unity. Let's start. I will go right. Everything is working. I can still jump. It's not possible to jump mid-air. He's going left. I let go of A. And he's still facing left. So let's wrap it up once more. Our animator had a parameter called walk. This parameter has been used to set conditions for state transitions between the idle animation or the idle state and the walk state. The condition was when walk is greater than 0, 1, we will transition to the walk state. If it's less than 0, 1, we will transition back from walk to the idle state. This is what we check here. If it's not 0, we assign something. If we are moving, we assign 1. If we are not moving, we assign 0. We flip our player by looking if he's moving, and if he's going to the right, we assign 1f. If he's going to the left, we will assign minus 1f to actually flip him around and face him in the left direction. Cool. So with this now done, we have wrapped up our little player controller script. You will now have 5 more minutes to catch up. I will push it before I forget again, and for now I will call the commit add animations to player. Not to players, but to players. I will push it. And now 5 minutes, we will check in with you, how you're feeling about it, where you are, if you need some catch up. And after this, Linda will take over, and then we are looking what we were gonna do with you, if you're going more freestyle or if we will guide you a bit more. So 5 minutes from now.
Okay, yeah, thanks for following along so far. I'll take over now. And I just want to give you a vision of what can be done. Of course, congratulations, you built your first really game feature today with the walking animation of the figure, and that it's basically that the player controller is finished right now. But we all know games consist of much more features, so all features combined will make up a game. And what is kind of missing in our little game right now is a purpose, a goal that the player can fulfill. And yeah, we planned this part of the workshop as a little bit more freestyle. And we wanted to give you something you can work towards to, where you can try out. Maybe you want to expand your level. But yeah, we came up with something around this gem here. You can see it already in your scene. And I've got a little exercise for you, basically. So we made a game out of collecting these gems. You see I placed some more in here. And basically when the player starts the game, a timer will be started, and the player has to fulfill their goal in form of collecting all gems that are in the scene. So if I start the game, you can see a timer running. I can collect all gems, and the timer is stopped. Like, this would be the position where you could also add something like a game over screen. But let's start from the beginning. We have those additional tasks here, or just as a little guideline. I don't know, I've got the feeling that the experience with Unity here is kind of mixed. So our plan now is to give you a little outlook of how you could reach the goal, basically, or how you could reach the state that I just showed you. So the process would be that you enable gem collection so that you can spread out gems in the scene that will be basically destroyed once they collide with the player. Then you can add a timer with Unity's UI system, and then you can stop the timer once 5 gems are collected, or once all gems are collected. How do you feel about this? Give me a little hand raise if you feel the confidence that you can solve this yourself. Okay. So maybe I can give you a little rundown of how the gem collection is working, and afterwards we will see how much time we have left. And then you can maybe also play around a little bit. So maybe you also already have an idea of how you can expand the gameplay that we already have. Is that okay? Okay, good. So let's start. I quickly stash the changes that I have. So I'm on the state that you currently are on. There we are. So we will reload the scene. Reload. And we're back again at the state that Hendrik just brought you to. We can move our firefighter, but the gem is not collectible right now. If you go to the project scene, you have the several folders in here, and there's a folder called prefabs. You can double click the prefab called gem, and then you're brought to this view here. Prefabs in Unity are a way of defining prototype, so to say. So if you want to reuse game objects, it's not a cool idea to just copy and paste them, but you can create prefabs from them, which is one of those here. Prefabs then can be reused, and they will be the same each time you will pull them into your scene. The gem right now is quite simple. You see a sprite renderer, which is just displaying the little image here, and you can see an animator, which is, I think, right now only doing a sparkling effect in the scene, so nothing really much of function. What we want to do, or what we want to achieve, is that the player basically destroys gems once he reaches it. So Hendrik already told you that Unity has a physics system, so the functionality that we need is nothing else than mere collision, I would say. So in order to be able to let the gem participate in the physics system, you can click here and add a component called collider. What we need is, in this case, a 2D collider. We can take maybe circles. We can, you see there are a lot of options, but for now, for a really very simple collision, it will be sufficient to just use a box collider. If you check out the properties here, you will see that it generates a little box around here, the little green box, and you can adjust the size for it. Something like this. But for now, you don't need to be super strict with it because the gem is rather small, so something like this is sufficient. But in a real game, if you would like to be very, very precise of when the collision would happen, you would need to adjust this a little bit so it's exact. But for now, it's okay. Save the prefab with Command S or Control S, and with this little arrow in the top left corner, you can go back to your scene view. That's already it. So right now, if we run the game now and walk towards the gem, you will see that we will get stuck. Because right now the gem is basically treated as something physical, so with a mass. So it but the good thing is when we're stuck, we know, okay, this gem is now participating in the physics system and in the collision system. But yeah, we don't really want to get stuck at the gem. We want to collect it. So what I would do, please open the gem prefab once again and hit this is trigger checkbox here. This will only this will basically solve the case that we are getting stuck. So we can walk right through it. But this trigger checkbox is basically a sign for Unity that we will only use this collider as something, okay, that like something like a notification. Okay, a collision happened, but we don't want to basically want to other colliders react to it. So how would it disappear now? We of course need a new script. Please go back to the gem. Damn it. Select it and hit add component here. And you can just create a new script by just typing in there. In my case, I want to, oh no, we already have a gem script, okay. Sorry. Hit add component and then click on gem. You added the script to the component and double click it. No. Yes, and that's already the solution. But we can delete it for now. Like this. Let's start again. Sorry. Go back to your prefab. Hit add component, and now if you type gem, there will be nothing. Hit new script, and then create an add. You will see a pop-up suggesting you to save it somewhere. I will save it somewhere in the scripts folder. Let's place it here. So, and we will open the prefab by we will open the script by double-clicking it. So, this basically is a mono behavior where you can control how the gem will behave. As I said, we want to react to the collision with the player. To do that, we can override a method called on trigger enter 2D. This method will be fired once the component that is attached to it, the collision component, expects some collision in our game. This method is kind of handy because it gives us also the collision object that is created once the collision actually happens in the game. And we are able to inspect this collision object by just checking out what is happening here. So there's a lot that we can expect, but what we actually want to see is the game object. So this collision contains super much information of how the collision happened, and also the game object that caused the collision. And if we hit get component, enter player controller, we could actually access the player controller script that we created earlier. So what we want to do, we want to check, okay, was this collision caused by the player? So the simple thing to check this is if we put this into an if and check if the player controller script is present on this game object. And if so, we want to destroy the gem, as I said. For this, we can call destroy, which is also a method that is given automatically by the mono behavior. And we will destroy our own game object. This game object reference is always also given by the mono behavior, and this game object is basically the object that the script is attached to. And that's already it, if I'm not wrong. So let's see. Hit play. Walk around. And if we're now touching the gem, it disappears. It will also disappear completely from the scene, so there's no object in here called gem, because we called the destroyed method. So far so good. I can also recommend, if you want to play around now a little bit, is to just duplicate the gem via Command D or Control D. And then you can also drag it around to pimp up your level a bit. See, let's put one here. Hit Control D again. Put maybe some here. And if we hit play, as I said, prefabs are reusable. Each will basically follow the same logic. I can collect all of them in here. So far so good. I'll commit this. Let's see. And from now on, we plan to basically go more into a free working phase. As I said, we have suggestions how you can go on from this place on. I will just give me a second. I will push this, the gem script. There we are. I will open this gem script once again. And yeah, if you want to like refine your game, maybe place more gems, place more level elements, or even add a timer, we can support you now. And afterwards, we will continue with the career outlook and how to apply for a position in game development. So please stay here. We also have goodie bags, so there will be also some reward in the end. Thank you. Okay, just as a little wrap up of the coding session, I will just give you a quick run through of how I solved it. there are many ways that would lead to this goal. So, but just a little impression of how I solved it. So, in the level, I've got an object called gem collector, and I attached a script to it called gem collection stopwatch. If we open it, okay, this doesn't seem to work. Let's just go to Unity to Rider. Gem collection stopwatch. There we are. So yeah, the whole thing about is that I'm having a script that basically takes care of time. The time passed is saved in a property. In the fixed update method, I will basically always keep track of the time that has passed. And right now, the stopping the timer logic is kind of simple. I'm just checking, okay, how many gems were collected, and if enough gems were collected, I'm just not adding any more to this variable anymore. And also updating the text isn't really necessary in that case, so just a timer stopped for us, even though the game is still running. And something that's also kind of interesting for you, I guess, is how I'm actually keeping track of the gems that were collected. And the thing is that I'm basically keeping track of how the gems are behaving with a callback. I mean, I think sometimes you know this from other languages where you can subscribe to events, and that's actually that's exactly what I'm doing here. Looking through the scene, looking for, okay, where are gem objects in our scene, and if so, I will subscribe to an on-collected event. If we go to the gem behavior, you can see it here. I defined an action that is fired once we are running into this player collision before we destroy it. That's super important because we might not actually be at the point that we can fire this event here, so call this action before you destroy the object. But yeah, that's a kind of simple solution how we make the connection between a stopwatch, the stopwatch script, and the gems. You could also do this via serialized references. You can also basically listen to the Unity messaging system, but that's just how I would solve it. I will push also this solution to the repository, but yeah, feel free to find your own solution for this. Yeah, that's it for the coding part, and then Brett will take over, I guess. Thank you.
Okay. First of all, thank you to the my now InnoMasters here at who have been able to do a bit of a demo today, and I hope that they've actually done a great job in planting the seed in your head to become a bit of a game developer. Let me just set this up, and I'll start to talk. Okay. Yeah, now I'm just going to take 15 minutes at the end of this workshop just to give you some insight into, hey, now I want to be a game developer. How do I actually get that dream job that I want? As I said before, I was a part of the interview process for all three of the InnoMasters that have presented today. And if I knew at that point in that interview that they would be in 2, 3, 4, 5 years' time out here at code.talks doing a workshop for you guys, I would have, yeah, I would have hired them straight away, which I did. And yeah, it is something that I can be so proud of that they've come here and so far and so fast. So now I want to sort of point that out to you. How can you be the next one of these InnoMasters? How can we see you up here on stage in a few years' time presenting InnoGames? So I'm going to give you some insights and the ultimate guy, maybe a bit of a cheat code. Let me find this. Let's start. Right here, we're going to start with 30 seconds. What am I saying this for? It's super important, 30 seconds, because 30 seconds is what you have to stand out when you do an application and you make an application for a job. It's not just within the gaming industry, it's everywhere. 30 seconds is so important. Recruiters scan applications in under 30 seconds and they make a call. They make a call whether it's yes or no. And so what you need to do is make it easy for them to say yes when they see your application. So again, first impressions, they start very, very, very early. Long before the interview process, the first impressions start with the application. So I'm going to give you some advice on how to make your application memorable. First of all, a motivation letter. Please make sure you do have a motivation letter. Make sure that you say why you want to work for InnoGames in this motivation letter, and make sure you tell your story and do it authentically, because we're going to come back and ask you a lot of questions about what you've written in these applications, and if it's not authentic, we'll figure it out pretty soon. The next point is, yes, use smart buzzwords. I know buzzwords are everywhere and people just, raise their eyebrows when they hear them, but within an application, we do have automated processes, and a lot of companies do have automated processes, and they scan for these buzzwords. I'm going to tell you right now how old I am, because I remember in my application back in 2023 when I left university, I had a word in there which is horrible, COBOL, but it got me one of the best jobs on earth in one of the biggest banks. I didn't stay there, but it got my foot in the door. So use words like AI. We're going to scan for it. Use Unity. Now that you've played with Unity, go and use it more and put it in your cover letter, especially for a game development position. The next one is talk about real projects that you've worked on. I know a lot of you here are students, but you would have had the chance to actually develop your own game. We've given you a bit of a start today. Actually go and continue developing this game. Start developing your own games and use like real-time projects. You would have had also other chances to collect experiences through real-time projects in your university. So do mention them, because this is what we look for. And then also create a portfolio. We use the term portfolio often with artists, where they have a list or a portfolio full of their pieces of art. Development and developing something is a piece of art. Put it in your portfolio. Put your game in your portfolio and show it to us. The CV side of it, make it short, clear, and relevant. We know today that most of the CVs we can fit on one page. So it's probably not worth having, hey, I worked in a petrol station back when I was 12. It doesn't help us. But make sure you put your relevant information that relates to that relates to the job you're going for, and make sure that it also shows your work ethic and your values as well. Proofread it twice. There are so many times where we've looked at applications and on the cover letter it says Dear PwC. That doesn't help if we're InnoGames. So please proofread it and make sure it's unique to the company you are applying for. And the last one is get some experience with the company that you're applying for. So in our example, play our games, understand what our games are, learn a little bit about not just our games, but our company culture. So, and talk about them. And it's sort of just getting to know the company you're applying for, in this case, obviously InnoGames. And obviously when we go to HR, or what the department we call P&C, People and Culture, they have a list of what matters most. And it's the same with me when I'm in an interview as well, or looking at. Firstly is authenticity. Be yourself. We want to meet the real you. And again, if you are not authentic, we will figure that out through the process. So please be authentic. Talk about your experiences with communication and teamwork, especially in your time at university or your time working at other places. This is something that is key to the job that you will do in InnoGames or in any other company, especially software development. You need to work at a team and you need to communicate. So let's talk about stories there. Show interest and reflection. So know why you want to join us. Don't just find 100 different companies and put applications out to all of them. Learn, sort of look inside yourself and find out, hey, this is the place I want to work. I am valuable. I'm only going to pick these 10 places because I am very good, and find out why. Make sure you understand why, because these questions will come, and if you don't know why you want to apply for that company, then we'll figure it out pretty quick. Again, talk about relevant experiences, courses you've done, coding projects you've made, the tools you've used. We've given you some examples here today that you can take away with you, and all the small things help there. And the last one, I hate to break it to you, but with InnoGames, this is specific for that, and a lot of tech companies, you need English skills. Practice it. I mean, you might have heard me speaking German here. It's not the most comfortable thing on earth, but hey, just keep on doing it, and persuading English will come the same way. So keep that in mind. Now we get to the interview process. And again, we're going through here, also first impressions matter. And they last. So we get the next chance to make a first impression here. What we want to do is dress for the culture. It's not only the way you do dress, but it's also the way you act. So in a gaming company, we are very relaxed, we're chilled. We have a saying, come as you are. But it's the way you come across can also affect that. If there's a clash in cultures, then it can work against you. I can talk about my interview at InnoGames. Happened 12 years ago now. And I was 32-degree heat. It was in Harburg, in our old office. And I wore a suit and tie. And I walked in there in a suit and tie, and I I was pretty warm. I asked for some water, and then they took me upstairs, and the people that were giving me the interview, one of them was here previously, was sitting there in flip-flops, shorts, and T-shirt. And I'm sitting there looking at him like, oh God, I feel really out of place there. And the first thing I asked for was like, can I get rid of this jacket and tie? And they're like, please do it. And then, yes, it wasn't the greatest start. I did seem to make up for it, but just keep in mind there have a think about how you present yourself. The next one is prepare for common questions. There's going to be a lot of common questions that come up. They might be formed in different ways, but try and prepare for them. For example, tell me about a time where you worked in a team environment. Tell me about a time where you had a difficult colleague that you had to work with, or a difficult student in a project, so to sort of say. Come up with that, or tell me about a time or tell me about your weakness, and work on making sure you have a good answer for these, and be ready for these questions, because they'll come in different forms. The next one is, again, know our games, know our company. Research what the company you're going for. So in InnoGames, I can give you some insights. I walked out, as I was doing the presentation preparation for this, I walked out of the office at work, and I just took a picture of our values. Know what our values are. First of all, do they match with your values? But that's going to be even better. But the thing is, at least know them. And I want to point out the last one there, because I will talk about it a bit. Love what we do in a bit later. So, but learn about the company, not just the games that they produce, not just how they produce it, but also the company culture, because that's very important. And my last point here in the interview is to be ready. Again, be ready to back up your CV. Be authentic. This is the point where if you started to lie in your CV, there's going to be a lot of questions being fired at you. We will figure it out, and we will see it. So we want to see the real you, and we've been doing this for a long time, going through interviews, and we've learned how to find that real you. So please be authentic. Okay, the advice from HR, or our people in culture, is firstly, reflect on strengths and weaknesses. Know what your strengths and weaknesses are. Be happy to talk about them. I remember I always took note of the weaknesses that I had, and I made sure that I was ready for the questions. And I always picked a weakness that I do have where it can be seen as a positive. That's always a great thing. So if you, for example, one is if you, I can give the example. If you say, I always say no. I always say yes too often. And I say yes to everything. This is a weakness from my side. And that can be seen as a positive as well, that you want to please the customers, you want to please everybody. There's a lot of examples where you can create that a weakness is sometimes a positive. Hey, I'm a perfectionist. I like to do everything properly. This can be seen as a weakness and a positive. So think of things like that. Ask a lot of questions. So prepare questions. For example, hey, how does my working day look like when I go and work at InnoGames? What is the culture like? Make sure you have a list of questions, because when we get to the end of an interview and we say, hey, now we've got 10 minutes, it's your time, use it. When they sit there and go, no, you've answered everything, it's not the greatest impression. So have something prepared there. Engage actively. And actually, I put these last two together because they do come together. Engage actively and overcome nervousness. Normally, when you do overcome nervousness, you can really start to engage and start to have a proper in-depth conversation. So if you can really hold a conversation within the interview and you can drive it along and we don't need to drive it, that's a great start for you. And to do that, you really need to work on getting rid of your nervousness, and that's a matter of practice. It's a matter of practice with your friends, practice with your family. Just do the same way you do a dry run in a presentation, do it in an interview. So get that nervousness out of you. So extra bonus points. This is something that really puts people over the line. And I can give examples for each three of the InnoMasters sitting here. Show your passion. Love what you do. Goes back to that value of ours. So show us your gaming or coding projects. Show us what you've built. Some of the best interviews are ones where people have just gone, hey, can I show you my game? And we just look at the look on their face, and they're just like showing us their game, and we're sitting there thinking, okay, this interview's taken a bit of a weird turn, but it's great to see them excited. The next one is a really good piece of advice. Build a portfolio site. So a lot of people actually come to us with all of their games put on the web. So we can actually, before we even get to the interview, we can actually go through their portfolio site and actually play their games. And that shows that they have a love for gaming. That shows that they're interested. And it's not just a job for them, it's a hobby. And talk about what excites you. That's exactly the same as showing your game. It's actually really going into what actually makes you wake up in the morning and want to do gaming and talk about it. And I can give one example of an interview I had this year where we were in a technical interview, and he just wanted us to help him with one of the technical bugs in his game. And he wouldn't let it go. So we thought, okay, we ended up debugging his game, and he was super excited, and now works in one of my teams. So you could show that he was passionate about it. And the last point here is to let your enthusiasm show. So as I said before, when you can see the light in the eyes sort of really show, you know that they have a passion for gaming, and you want to get that across. So key takeaways, just to sum up what I've shared today. Make your application memorable. Show why you want to be a part of the company. Play our games, and proofread things carefully. Prepare and own your interview. It's your interview. Don't let us drive it. You drive it. I think this is something that is a bit of a skill. So research, reflect on yourself, research the company, engage actively in the interview process, and be authentic. Be yourself. Let your passion shine. That goes back to one of our values: love what you do. So show your projects. Show what you're enthusiastic about. Show your curiosity, ask a lot of questions again. And that's sort of the things that really set you apart. So remember, we don't look for perfect candidates. There is no perfect candidate out there. What we do look for are the ones that are motivated and the ones that really love what they're doing on a daily basis. And we go back to it. If you I think it was Mark Twain said something like, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And for gaming, this is one thing I've started to actually believe, working in a gaming company. So what I want to just 5 seconds more, or a couple minutes more, we talk about building portfolios, creating games, sharing that. I want to give it back to Henrik, who will give you an example of how you can actually do that very shortly.
Thank you. But the presenter. All right. So, I just want to talk a bit about building a portfolio, but you should not just build a portfolio for the company you're applying to. You should build a portfolio to display yourself, to show what you're doing, what you're capable of. And I want to present to you one of those things which me personally greatly helped back then when I was more into studying and I was starting game development as a hobby. And so I want to ask, who of you heard of game jams before? There are a few. Okay, so mostly. To just sum it up, still, a game jam usually is an event which goes up to, or goes like 48 hours. There are also game jams which go like 72 hours. There are ones which go a week, which go a day, whatever. And you can participate in a game jam either solo as a team, and your overall goal is like whatever technology you want to use to create a game. And this is what me helped personally to get into game dev itself and show my passion for it. I've built up within the last 5 years, I think, or 4 years, I think even, up to 20 entries for game jams. It's like every quarter there was a game jam I was participating in. And during the time I applied for InnoGames, I already had like a handful, and I was like, hey, I'm passionate about it. I wanna do game development. And it was a great helper for me, but I didn't just because I wanted to impress a company. I just wanted to do it for myself because I wanna show what I'm capable of and what can I do. And if you're here in Hamburg, or if you're far away and you still want to come to Hamburg, there is the ID Jam happening every year. And also on this weekend, from this Friday to this Sunday, we will host a game jam. So I just want to invite you to this game jam. We still have a few spots open. There are also people from the local GameDev community, from other studios, even also from Tiny Roar, for example, or some other indie game developers are there. So you can also work with them together. You can come there and see which team you want to join and get in contact with them. Also, it is located directly in our headquarters, so in the Friesenstraße, and everyone basically is invited, even if you have not so many experience yet. It's a great chance to just get your hands on, do something, even if it's just a really small platformer like this, where you're sitting like, okay, I want to get to know the engine, that's totally fine. And also what we offer at the ID Jam, as we are more local game jam right now, we had during Corona, it was a bit more of a remote experience. There we will also offer food and drinks. You can sleep at our facilities. We have the Inno Gym where you can just sit down and sleep. It's a bit cold there, so if you want to come, bring something warm with you. And yeah, you can also get a first glimpse at our office. So usually we also show the office around. We show you what is it actually like, how do we work, at what places do we work. And this is also something for you to get in touch with us at first, even before applying years before in the future. So yeah, if there are any questions now, otherwise to the game jam, you can raise them right now. Otherwise, I will just invite you with this officially to join our Discord. There I will also be posting about the next few upcoming jams. For example, we are also trying to attend the Global Game Jam each year, which will be announced at the Discord at least, but also on idjam.eu, where you can sign in, register yourself, and actually then sign up there. And we got still a few spaces left, so you are very welcome in our game jam and meet us there in person and also meet up with other teams. Great, thank you. That's my part. Do you want to close?
Yeah. On that note, we are finished for today. Thank you very much. I know it was a good time of a good chunk of time, but I want to thank you all for being here. If you do have any questions, I know we're at the end, do come and reach out to us. We are happy to answer any questions about any topic. We do just love a chat. If you see us at the party tonight, come and have a word. We're always up for it. And once again, thank you. I hope you've learned a lot, and it was a pleasure.